You're listening to the Cambridge Insider Podcast. This episode launches us into a new series on our podcast called the Host Family Diaries, hosted by Cambridge Network's Host Recruitment Director, Leanna Glass. Our hearts are to share the stories of host families in hopes to spread awareness and build connections to other host families. We hope you enjoy listening to their stories as much as us. Thanks for listening. Hello and welcome to our listeners. Welcome to the very first episode of the Host Family Diaries. During this series, we'll hear from host families from across the United States. We'll learn about their experience hosting, up and downs, lessons learned, and memories and relationships created with international students at Cambridge Network. We hope this series provides valuable insight to families considering hosting an international student. We hope it's a point of connection and camaraderie for our current host families. And we hope it helps our students to get a feel for what host families are like. My name is Leanna. I'll be your host. I've worked at Cambridge Network for just over 5 years, and I've been in many different types of roles. I'm currently our Associate Director of Host Recruitment and Development. And my job is to ensure we provide quality host families for all of our students and school partners. A fun fact about me is you are listening to me out of London. I currently live here. I've been here about 3.5 years. And it's my love for travel and the way getting out of our comfort zones can help us grow and transform our worldviews that landed me at Cambridge Network, and has inspired my love for working with host families and international students. So I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy to introduce our first guests on our first episode. Each episode we'll hear from a different host family. And today we have with us David and Valerie. They're coming from Washington, the state of Washington, and I'll let them introduce themselves, and then we'll jump into some questions about hosting. So welcome, both of you. Do you want to just say hi to our listeners and tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
We just want to say thank you for having us participate in this podcast with you. And as the host just mentioned, my name is David Haney. At the time that I lived in California, 1970, I decided to join the Navy. In 1971, I made my first cruise. Um, and that cruise took me all over Asia. Took me to the Philippines, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan, Hong Kong. And on one of those trips, I met my wife, who's sitting beside me now. And as soon as the ship went back to the United States, I flew back to the Philippines and we got married. Then one day in 1997, a church was desperately needing hosts. And they reached out to us and asked us if we would host the what was he Japanese student, and we did that for a time, and that was the beginning of our hosting. Then a few years later, the opportunity came presented itself again for us to be able to host, and this time we started hosting college students. Although there was a period in which we did host one Chinese student that attended Archbishop Murphy High School here in Washington. Anything?
Yes, yeah.
Anything to add to that?
I know.
Okay.
Amazing. Yeah, it's great to hear about your background and how you met. What do you think inspired you to host for the very first time? What was it that got you into that very first hosting experience?
Well, it was, I guess I didn't mention the fact that because I did mention or did travel through Asia, I learned about the culture, the various cultures there. And so in hosting the very first time, it was exciting because then I was able to see the other side of that culture. I'd been to that culture. Now I'm going to have that culture in our home.
Yeah, so it was a lot of the cultural exchange that initially
Exactly. Yes.
motivated you.
And
Awesome.
then, of course, I brought that Philippine culture to
We
the United States.
we got a lot of a student in a like Japanese, Taiwanese, Vietnamese, and I was just teasing them. I said we have all the knees in my house.
Oh, well, that's amazing. And our students have been so happy living with you. And I think it's a testament to when families embark on this experience for the right reasons, which is the cultural
Hmm.
exchange, forming those
Hmm.
bonds and relationships with students, you really get so much out of it. What do you
You really
think?
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, what do you think has been the most rewarding or the most enriching aspect of hosting students?
I think the most rewarding thing is that um, when you bring someone over from overseas, in this case, Chinese, um, you get a chance at firsthand of learning about that culture.
Hmm.
And then secondly, you're able to have that culture, learn about all culture. Um, and when I'm with my two female students on the way to school or coming back home, I ask them questions. If I see something, while we're driving, I ask them, do you have this there? Do you have that in China? Or how do you do this? And how do you do that? And it's really shocking sometimes that some of the answers that they give us. Um,
Hmm.
Shocking and surprising. Like, oh, you don't do that? Oh, you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So,
those types of conversations and learning about how different the world is depending on what country you're in or what culture you're
hmm
brought up in, it helps us to see our own world differently. And I think it's
hmm
sort of like traveling, having someone from a different culture live with you in your home and seeing what they're experiencing through their eyes. But in your home where you're not used to picking up on those kind of things, you sort of look at the world
hmm
around you differently when you know the person in
Hmm.
the car with you is seeing everything through a different lens.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Just like recently, we went out outside. It snowed here, and we had a snow day. And I took the two students out, and we played in the snow, and it was their first time of making a snowman.
Oh,
Um, but they instead of calling it a snowman, they called it a snow woman.
oh, I like that.
Yes, they put a lace.
Yeah, that's so special. I mean, it's something so familiar to you guys being in Washington, snow,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
getting to experience a
Mhm.
snow day with students who never get to see snow and it's their first time.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah, never
Mhm.
played in it, never felt it, and so they were just all smiles when they were out there, playing in the snow.
Yeah.
That's really special. I mean, do you two have any children of your own?
Yep.
We have one. She's a
Okay.
little half Filipino,
20,
half
25,
American.
yeah.
And how old is she?
She's
26 now. And everybody think that she's 12.
Well, I ask you that because I can imagine as parents, when she was a teenager, if she was
hmm
going and studying in a different country, let's say in China, across the world,
hmm
Yeah.
that
Right.
relationship that you could potentially have with the family that she was living with would probably mean so much to you. And I
Yep.
think it's an even more rewarding experience when you know the family that of the
hmm
student and you can tell how relieved they are to have
Hmm.
hmm
their child be living with such a loving family who's cooking such amazing food and keeping them well
Yeah.
fed. I mean, that
Yes.
goes so far for a parent's peace of mind
Yeah.
when
hmm
they trust the host family.
That's exactly what the mother of one of the students was saying that every time that I emailed her that her and her husband felt so much better and relieved to know that their daughter was in safe hands.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I imagine that really contributes to how enriching the experience can be because we know our monthly stipends, it's not enough for someone who's purely motivated for financial purposes to host. But I think
Hmm
when you combine it with the fact that you're making such a big impact in someone's life and in someone's family and parents' life,
Exactly.
it
Hmm.
makes it all worth it. Um, But I don't want to sugarcoat things. I know that hosting students has its ups and downs, trials and tribulations,
Oh,
just like
Hmm.
your own family members. Obviously, raising your own teenagers, there are going to be challenges. So I wanted to hear from the both of you about what's difficult about hosting, and what have you noticed with challenges with hosting an international student?
I think probably one of the things is not very many,
mhm.
um, but I think one of them is, sometimes getting them to clean.
Hmm.
Um, it seems to be a thing that they are not really used to there. Their whole cultural idea there is for their child to go to school
Yeah,
and learn,
Right.
yeah,
Focus on academics.
yeah,
focus on academics. They come back home and it's eat, study, and then just repeat that, that whole process again.
Right.
So that's not very much probably washing dishes or helping out with the laundry or any of that.
yeah,
And and then once they come
yeah,
here, they just aren't used to that.
mhm.
So for a time, it's uh it's a thing where you need to just kind of stay with them
Yeah,
on cleaning their room, cleaning their bathroom, until they get in the habit, because that's what is happening is there's been a habit formed, and I think that's it's hard to, as we know here, to break some habits.
yeah. I always the girls I have to tell them what girls need to do. I always tell them like it's like when it's cold, wear my husband said wear jacket,
Hmm.
wear this. I have to take them to store, and when the clothes they pick, it's not my approval, and you cannot wear that here in Washington. It's snowing. They get the real thin one. I said no, it won't work. You gotta look from them, but sorry, you still gonna wear my clothes that I was telling you to wear. It's like I said, it's like your kid. Your kids do the same thing too. Mom, you guys out of style. You're in the 70s. This is 2024. Not in a cold weather. It's still the same. You need to wear thick clothes.
Yeah, and I can certainly appreciate, some of these things we're touching on are cultural with differences in how children are brought up in different
Hmm.
countries,
Yeah.
but other
Hmm.
things are just translatable for teenagers in any part of the world. Cleaning
Yeah.
up your
Yes.
bedroom, cleaning up the
Mm-hmm.
bathroom, doing dishes.
Hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
anyone listening who has children or teenagers is going to be able to relate to that. That's constant conversation no matter where
Yeah.
somebody's from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just
Exactly.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you said, building it into your routine, your habits, and making it part of something that they don't have to think about so much, but it does take a while of working
Hmm.
with the student for the first, I would say, few months that they're living in your home. You
Right.
really have to be drilling this into them, not in a super overbearing way, but just letting them know why it's
Exactly.
important. This is a household,
Mm-hmm.
a family, you're part of the team now. We
Hmm.
all work together
Yeah.
to keep up the household. Um, and Cambridge Network too is always there to have these conversations, especially when it comes to hygiene. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Culturally, especially, we're having more of those conversations with students because in America we have really, really high standards for hygiene. We want everyone to shower
Mm-hmm.
every
Yes.
day. We want
Yeah.
teeth brushed twice a day. We have
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
high standards. And that's just not the reality in a lot of other countries. And it's
That's
it's a
right.
learning curve for them. So our Cambridge
Hmm.
Network advisors are well versed in having that conversation with students too, if a host ever feels uncomfortable with those conversations. But luckily, seems like you are more than comfortable having them, which is it's wonderful because a student really builds trust with a host when they know
Yes.
my host is not afraid to talk to me about these sensitive topics. Help
Yeah.
students
Hmm.
feel more comfortable, come out of their shell, and come to you when they
Exactly.
have questions or concerns in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you need to have patience with them. When we have our Cambridge office uh, calls, at times you hear host, having issues, and so I have to tell them, look, this is supposed to be a fun thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we need to have as much patience as we can. We've got another, as you're saying, another culture coming into our not just our country, but into our home, and some of the things, as you're saying, that they're not used to doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just need to have all the patience in the world, as we do our own children.
Yep, I 100% agree. A lot of times I think about hosting and the role of a host family as not only a guardian and someone who's looking out for the student's safety and well-being, but
Yeah,
really
Hmm.
the coach too in helping
Yes.
them to adjust and just being there
yeah.
for them throughout that whole transition period. And if you're
Hmm.
going into it with that mindset of patience and helping a student to learn like a coach would,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's when host families really have the most rewarding experiences.
Mm.
But it's when hosts are unwilling to be forgiving, be patient, that they might have more of a negative experience. So I think the mindset that you both bring to the table with hosting is really excellent. Um,
It's been
with
too long.
that, so I know you mentioned our monthly host office hours, which I'm so happy to hear you're attending. We hold those on a monthly basis, and it's a time for host
Hmm.
families to join the call with Cambridge Network staff members. And everyone, it's kind of open forum. Everyone can share, talk about what they're experiencing, and hosts
Hmm.
share tips and tricks with each other. And Cambridge staff can also help to advise on any issues or feedback. So I wanted to ask if you have any advice or anything you would tell someone who's considering becoming a host family.
I would say grab that opportunity
Yeah.
to host, as we're saying, another culture in your home. It's a great learning experience. It's a greater experience than just reading about another culture.
Hmm.
You have that culture in
Experience
your
it.
home,
Yeah, you need to
and
experience
you're
it.
able at the same time to learn from them and teach them, because that's what it's all about, and that's what their family from whatever country that they're coming from wants to happen.
Hmm.
It's not just for them to be academically smart, but to learn our ways, because sooner or later they're going to get all this education and either maybe stay here or return.
Yep.
Um, it's just so rewarding, I would say, to host and just to be a part of
Hmm.
somebody else's life.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, you're bringing that person here, that female, that boy, and you're helping them just to experience
Yeah. What America.
what
Mhm.
America's like.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anything
We
to add to
yeah,
that?
we have and then it's really nice to even though they're no longer staying in our house, wherever they go, where the countries, we track on them, and we feel so uh
Touched.
touched because we heard one of my student live here. She's a doctor,
Hmm.
physical doctors,
Yeah.
and then one is she's in New York.
Sure. Yeah.
She
One is in
works
New
in a
York.
modeling agency. We track them. We just say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And we have one more who's gonna be a scout by a
Baseball team.
baseball team.
Wow.
Because it's not like you're gone, no good. Okay, I don't want to track. No, you need to find out where they at. So we say, "Hello, how are you doing?" Or my daughter is the one who's tracking all of most of them.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell them that because you stay here 3 years, 2 years, you're no good anymore. No, you need to track where they at. So you appreciate it. If they don't appreciate it, we do appreciate them. You know,
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
one that
and
was also in the
special.
hospitality. She worked in got training and worked in a hotel
Li- uh,
in Switzerland.
yeah.
So,
She is the shyest one. They're all shy. I told them, get out of that shell. Don't be shy. I have one here right now. I said, no. I told him, you hang around with me, the shyness is going to be gone. Yeah.
Which is
They're too
good. Yeah.
shy.
You need host families to help break the students out of their shell, feel comfortable
Yeah.
speaking up for themselves and
hmm
communicating what they need, what they want, especially surrounding
exactly.
food. It takes a while for them to say exactly what they
Yeah.
want or need.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things we had with one of the students. One is probably more outgoing than the other, but the other one is
Yes, she's very
it
shy.
continues to be shy and not really, saying what she needs or, what she wants.
Yeah.
Um, but that's where the family education advisor, I think that's what you call that person, really comes in handy if you have any issues. Um, and they're just your intermediary of solving any issues that you have. And I like that about Cambridge. And that we
Mhm.
used to host with another agency, and if you were having an issue, they would just remove them.
Yeah, that's
And
really
now that
bad.
wasn't solving anything.
That's not good too.
Should have been a sit down and get together,
Yeah,
uh, the two parties, the host family and the student.
yeah. That's the college one. That's
Yeah,
the college,
yeah.
not the high
hmm
school. Yeah, the
To
college setting. Yeah.
discuss. Yeah. So I like how Cambridge has the office time where you can ask questions and resolve any issues that you have, and it's just fun.
The last thing I wanted to ask is just if you wanted to share maybe one of your favorite memories or favorite parts of hosting a student, maybe a time that a student was able to express how much your care for them meant to them, or a time where you were able to notice how much of an impact
hmm
you were making for a student.
Well, we once had we had quite a few Vietnamese students that stayed with us, but this particular one was really close to us and, really kind of like a daughter. So her whole plan when she arrived here was to
She did.
become a nurse,
Now she's doctor.
and that is exactly what happened. She was able to change her status. She got married. She went to nursing school, graduated, and just continued on and on with her education until now she's not only a nurse, but now she's a doctor, I think, of psychiatry.
Psychiatry.
So that
So
Yeah.
is
you were
very
able to
rewarding.
see that journey from international
Yes.
Yeah.
student,
hmm
teenager, till
hmm
now, where she has accomplished that huge, huge goal of hers.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think she was 18, maybe
No,
18 when she said,
I
or
think
maybe a little younger,
17, I
maybe
think
17, 18
17 she
when
came
she
here
arrived here.
Wow.
for the first host.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting to see, yeah, as you're saying, that growth and, her being able to fulfill her dreams.
Your
Yeah.
dreams, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's
Because yeah. Because they're away from their parents, when they get along with their host, they treat them just like we appreciate that. They treat us like their own parents. We like that.
And
And
we
they
treat them
listen.
the
Yeah.
same, like they are our daughters.
yeah, it's a huge testament to what fabulous hosts you are that you have students who have gone on to accomplish their goals in the US. Because speaking
Yeah.
as someone who has studied abroad and lived in other countries, I've lived with host families, and the impact that your host family has on your experience living
hmm
abroad is it can't be overstated. If
No.
a
Mm-hmm.
student had lived with you and had a really hard time, they might have decided
hmm
to go back home, take the easy
Exactly.
route, go back to their comfort zone, live in their own
hmm
country with their own culture,
hmm
food, and everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's something to be said for that. It's the easier path, but the way
Yeah.
that you have nurtured students and prepared them for what was coming in college
Mm-hmm.
and for their
hmm
next steps in the US. I mean, it just goes to show you were able to prepare them so well that they were
Yeah.
able to accomplish their dreams. And what a great gift to be able to see that happen and keep in touch with them and have those relationships.
Yeah.
Daughter as well. I mean, I'm sure she thinks of them as siblings too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like you're saying, it's not.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No,
Oh,
go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, as you were saying, it's not all about the stipend. It's about loving who you're
You
hosting
bring. Yeah.
and being, as you're saying, being a big part of their life. It's so rewarding.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time today to share more about your hosting experience, your advice, what you would want a new host family who's considering hosting for the first time to hear. I think it's going to be so helpful for our current hosts to hear this conversation, prospective host families, and also for students, prospective students to be able to see what a real life host family looks like and sounds like, what their experience has been. So I can't thank you enough for your time. And I wish
Thank you
you
for having us.
Yeah.
the
Thank
best
you.
experience continuing hosting, and hopefully you'll have lots more students.
Well, thank you for
Thank
hosting,
you.
and we're so happy to do it. And we have one of our current students that's intending on coming back
Yeah.
the next school year and living with us. So I guess that
We
is a testament that
That says
we've
it
done
all.
something right.
Yeah,
and we're gonna add
absolutely.
one more because we're gonna model one of the rooms. We're probably gonna have 3 before we have 7.
Well,
We
I'm
thank
very happy that you'll continue hosting. And again, thank you for your time. And to our
Thank you.
listeners, thank you so much for being with us. And we can't wait to see you in the next episode where we'll be speaking with another host family. And again, thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Cambridge Insider Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. For more Cambridge updates, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Have a great week and stay connected.